everybody's sake, India's been growing between 7 to 8% year to year, right? Which is much more than the US itself. So as a country itself, it's growing. It has one of the youngest populations, okay? It's supposedly said in the next couple of years, it will be the youngest country in the world, which the population actually caters to the people that come online and buy. So if you look at the graph, again, total almost greater than 90% will be a population that should qualify to buy online. Now, if you look at this, as far as internet penetration is concerned, India is only third. China, obviously number one, the US, and then India. The thing that you need to notice is that being third, it still only has 19% internet penetration. So if the internet penetration goes to about 40, 45%, it'll surpass both the US and China as far as number of people that will be online. So what does the industry look like? I know that we discussed numbers from other countries, but India, where is it today? Sounds like a small number. India is about a $13.5 billion e-commerce market. But if you look at what the estimates are, the market is supposed to go up to about 100 billion to 100 billion by 2021. So if you think about it, that's a huge amount of growth that the market is looking at. Now again, that's only given the 19% penetration for the internet. What's the unique proposition that India has? Again, it's the second most populous country in the world, right? 1.21 billion people, about 3 times the US population. E-com sales are only 13.5 billion today, which contributes about 5% or maybe even lesser to the US sales. So that gives a huge opportunity as far as what the growth will be in India. So how does the retail landscape look? Online only takes about 0.4% of total retail today, okay? Not a lot. In the US, we discussed this morning, it's about 12%. We think that by 2020, e-com is going to take about 6% of the total retail market. One of the different factors in India, obviously, is that larger part of retail is still unorganized. So in the US and in other countries, retail is very organized. So you have department stores, etc., across the country. In India, that penetration itself is very low. So if you look at the first chart, organized retail is only 8 to 10%. Okay? Even that will grow to about 12%. But if you look at unorganized, even by 2020, we're saying will be 82%. I think that's a huge thing for e-commerce because where organized retail cannot go, e-commerce can. So I predict that, or our company actually predicts that these numbers, the 100 billion is actually a smaller number. Over the next few years, we should actually be on a growth pattern to be even greater than $100 billion. Now, only 10% of internet users in India buy online. In some countries, that is closer to 80%. In some countries, it's 40, 50%. In India, it's only 10%, and we're still predicting this kind of growth. Now, imagine if that 10% was to grow to 15, 20, 30, 40%, what the growth or the revenues of Indian e-commerce would be. Again, if you look at the geographical distribution, internet users in India are mostly based out of urban areas. If you look at June 2015, it says it's going to be 216 versus 138. But the next slide is what actually throws it off. Most of the sales for Indian e-commerce comes from tier 2 and tier 3 cities, which are the smaller towns, and not from tier 1 cities. This is something very different. Most countries experience the other way around, where the metros and the larger tiers probably sell better on e-commerce. India has been working the opposite way. The smaller tiers and the smaller cities are doing better. There's an estimate that this number, 60%, would more look like 75% over the next few years. So how many orders are we looking at? I know the numbers are small. They were looking at some 5 million orders per month in 2013, approximately 12 million in the coming year or so. So not a lot of number of orders if you look at it as a country, but that's why we're only at 13.5 billion. Average B2C e-commerce, again, if you start comparing it to the US and to other countries, it's very small. This year it was about $700. We think it'll go up a little bit more, but that's an average customer buying in a year. Online is about $700 in India. So what are the top product categories? This mimics almost every e-commerce economy, right? Electronics being the largest one at 28%. apparel taking about 24%, services about 19, books 10, etc., etc. Again, apparel is quickly catching up to electronics. There are estimates that over the next few years, apparel or fashion itself will be the single largest category in India. One category that is not showing here, I'm sorry, it is, but it's a smaller number, which is 5% home and furnishings. That's actually one of the fastest growing categories in India. So furniture players, home furnishings, etc., are probably outpacing everybody else. So what does the market look like? I know that Amazon exists everywhere around the world, so Amazon is obviously there. We have some homegrown players, such as Flipkart, Snapdeal, eBay again exists there, Jabong, ShopClues, Myntra, etc., etc. Here are how they rank, and again we use Alexa ranking, but I can tell you as far as revenues, this kind of comes very close to it. Flipkart, which is our homegrown competition to Amazon, ranks number 1, obviously. Amazon being very close next to number 2. Snapdeal, which is another marketplace, at number 3. Jabong is a fashion e-tailer, again marketplace based, number 4. eBay, Paytm. Now Paytm is something that is unique there because Paytm is mobile based. And one of the slides that is not here is how well India is doing as a mobile space itself. I think it was mentioned multiple times in developing countries, some of these guys are experiencing 50, 60, 70% of their revenues coming from mobile. And that's actually true in India as well. One of the players here, if you look at number 9, Myntra, they just went mobile app only. So they closed down their website and said that we will only be mobile app based. Now, huge step for a country that was only 13.5 billion and where the market is still growing, and they take this step. The reason they took this step is they were experiencing 60 to 70% of their sales coming through the mobile. So they said, why not go after that? Once they switched over, they only experienced a downturn of about 10%. So they only lost 10% of their sales once they went mobile app only. So again, something that's not up on the slides, but I think important for India as a country. Categories, again, I don't want to go down the list of what different categories, but it's everything that's on the marketplaces you can think of. There are different types of marketplaces in India as well, just like there are in America. There are ones that are general, so they sell everything under the roof. Then there are ones that are geared towards sports, towards health, towards furniture, towards baby, groceries, etc. So what are the main challenges that a consumer in India faces? Again, just like any other e-commerce economy, unsure of color and size, unsure of quality, returns, unclear delivery times, cannot trust the online seller, payment not be secure, others. Now, why am I covering this? And I'll get to that slide, but this is one of the major areas that most e-tailers face, right? How do we take care of all of these? And that's why, like Charles also mentioned, just like China, in India, 80 to 90% of online sales come through marketplaces, okay? They do not come through e-tailers or their own websites. That's because of these challenges, because when each e-tailer looks at it, they need to overcome all these challenges. Now, when a marketplace is involved, obviously they're taking care of these things by themselves and across all the sellers. Now, here are some challenges that most retailers look at when they look at India. And I think it was also mentioned that a lot of the population in India is unbanked. So for the largest amount of time, the major payment method in India was cash on delivery. Okay? When e-commerce actually took off, 80% of orders were being shipped cash on delivery. Today, that number has come down to about 50 to 60%. But still, if you think about it, the majority of the orders in India are shipped cash on delivery. Next being skilled manpower. Again, common thing when an economy is just growing up. Laws themselves, and I'll come to laws in a second. Logistics, just like any other country that's developing, there's a huge issues as far as transportation and deliveries, etc. But the government has spent a lot of money building the roads, building the infrastructure so that logistics can be taken care of. The fifth topic is actually interesting, FDI, which probably kind of relates to everybody that wants to enter the space. FDI is something called foreign direct investment. This is a rule in India that says that how much money or what investment can an international player bring into India. Okay. In retail, what they say is a single brand. So if you own, let's say, Swarovski, etc., they can open their stores. But when it comes to e-commerce, they cannot have an e-commerce store in India. Okay? May it be multi-brand or a single brand, FDI does not allow international sellers to own and operate their own online portals. Now, this is one of the major reasons that a lot of the international brands went with marketplaces, because it was easier to collaborate with the marketplaces where they were taking care of everything. The marketplaces were basically acting as a wholesale agent so that the goods can be brought into the country and sold online to consumers. Now, because of this, a lot of the e-tailers themselves have also not had a large presence in India. So again, something that is interesting, there are a lot of vendors and a lot of service providers today that basically survive on this, because they bring brands from the UK, the US, etc., into India and are able to sell them through the marketplaces or their own websites, just because those particular retailers cannot enter themselves. So again, something to keep in mind. This has been in talks with the government for a while. Don't know if they'll lift this ban, but for now, e-commerce for a brand to enter India and sell online is not possible unless it's an Indian entity, okay, or they're going through a marketplace. So, what is the, what are the numbers look like for the Indian marketplaces? Flipkart, again, homegrown, it holds about 44% of the total market as far as the market is concerned. Snapdeal, which is another e-commerce marketplace in India, holds about 32%. Amazon, which is probably the latest entry, owns about 15%, and others then the other 9%. So if you look at it, the first three basically take away some good 90% of the total market. What I want to end with is the case from Xiaomi. This is a perfect case to look at an international brand entering India and what they did, right? So in July last year, Xiaomi decided that they were going to enter India. And the way they were going to enter India is to have an exclusive partnership with Flipkart. So what they did was they launched their Mi3 phone at a price point of 14,000 rupees, which comes out to about $220 something, right? $220 or something. And they said they were going to sell, they were going to hold inventory of about, I think, 10,000 pieces. When the product went live, it took 30 minutes, literally 30 minutes for the 10,000 pieces to sell out from Xiaomi, okay? Over the next few weeks, or over the next week, Flipkart received requests to book 100,000 more Mi3s. So a perfect scenario as far as a foreign brand using marketplaces in India, understanding the price point itself, okay? Because 14,000 rupees was that price point that they knew that the people would go out and actually purchase online. They were able to convince people to come. And again, not bad for a week's worth of work to sell 100,000 phones online in a country that only has a few million orders per month, okay? So a great case study as far as India is concerned. There's maybe 50, 60 other brands that have entered marketplaces in India just the same route and are doing very well. Again, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, we have about 2 minutes for questions. If anyone has any questions, please step to the mic. No? I did have a question for Ashish. You were talking about Amazon entering India. I'm familiar with the law that doesn't allow foreign retailers to sell directly. So is Amazon not selling on their own, or are they only solely operating as a marketplace?
Yeah. Currently, they're only operating as a marketplace. Plus, what they've done is they've gone into a JV with an Indian company. So they sell their products. So yes, they are though a marketplace, but through the JV, they are able to sell their own products as well.
And is there movement to overturn that law? I've been reading here and there that there is. Is there any?
There's a lot of movement that our e-tailing India itself, as well as others, have put into the government. They believe that it hurts the local economy, so it's they're going back and forth. It looked like they might overturn it, but it doesn't look like over the next few years it will be.